We're talking today about an ordinance that you're planning to introduce on Monday, the 14th. There's two ordinances actually. One would require landlords, if their property is red tagged, to pay for the hoteling expenses of the resident. The second one is requiring landlords to have insurance riders that would cover that cost. Help us understand in the big picture why this ordinance, why now?
Yeah, so this folks may not be aware, but since I've gotten on city council, so 3 years, I have been trying to find a way that we can get an ordinance passed like this, like they have in Jackson, in other cities in Michigan. Um, we see it time and time again where folks are in red tagged homes that are incredibly unsafe to be in, and they do not want to speak up because they have nowhere else to go. And that's a problem for me. So I finally was able to work with the city attorney and find the correct wording that would hold up um, this type of um, housing for folks that are in red tagged homes that are not safe for humans. And essentially, what would happen, um, and the reason we're doing it now, is it's important. You know, we have to find a solution to housing issues. Um, and I truly don't believe that your income should dictate what kind of quality of a rental or housing that you have. And so, how this would work is the owner, um, through our research, we actually found out that there is a rider that landlords can get that's relatively inexpensive that does cover them for costs like this. And how this would work is if they did not have that rider insurance coverage to house the person that was displaced or family, then essentially the fee would kick in, which was, we worked with the HRCS department to figure out what a proper fee would be to hotel someone um, and make sure that if something gets red tagged because it's unsafe, they don't end up on the street. They have somewhere to go, and that landlord will be responsible for that fee. Um, and it also gives us enough time. I believe it says up to 30 days in the proposal. Give us enough time if that landlord chooses not to fix this life safety issue, that we can take them to court and, basically force their hand into corrective action. Um, because again, we're talking about people here. This isn't about dollars and cents. This is making sure that someone doesn't get displaced and put onto the street. And typically when that has happened, the city has incurred a cost. Um, but 90% of our landlords are good landlords. Um, and most of them have this carrier because it is the right thing to do. It protects them and it protects the folks that are living within their rental.
Now, in fairness, in previous cases, and I'm thinking of the Simtob red tag scenarios with Marvin Gardens and the Holmes
Yeah.
apartments, they through court action they were ordered to pay for the hoteling. This would circumvent that, right? This would make it immediate that residents would have that covered either by the city, then reimbursed by the landlord, or by the landlord through their insurance. Correct?
Correct. Correct. We would not be in that awkward position where we're waiting for a court ruling. Meanwhile, these people are feeling like they're living in limbo, um, you know, figuring out if the city's going to pay for another day at the hotel. Um, this essentially would take action immediately. Um, and I believe at the end of the day, what good will come out of this is these really unsafe houses, and I've been to enough of them to know that they're out there, and I think that you have too. I think that um, this gives people the tool to say, "Hey, code compliance, I'm in a rental, and this is not safe. This isn't kosher. It's not okay." and come forward rather than just not say anything because they're afraid that they don't have, any recourse. This gives them that support they need to come forward, speak up, and say, "Hey, things are not good, and we need you to come look at this." And I'm not worried that if you do red tag it, that it's unsafe for people to be there, that we won't have anywhere to go. We know we'll have somewhere to go.
So Mayor Shore, in his State of the City address, said, thank you to the good landlords. And you said there's like 90% of the landlords are good. But to the
Mhm.
bad landlords, you're on notice. If you're not going to take care of your property, we're going to crack down on you. Do you feel like the city administration, the administration, has done enough to crack down on housing concerns in the last couple of years? I mean, we do see them suing like Nawabu. We saw the Simtab lawsuits. We are seeing more court action than we have in the past. Is it enough?
We are seeing more court action. Um, I can tell you that I appreciate the administration stepping up. Um, it certainly was a pressure campaign. I think I, I I think sometimes they weren't completely aware of the situation that was going on. And I got onto council and housing became my number one issue. The quality of housing in Lansing, the things that, these bad landlords are getting away with. The videos I saw, the houses I went in, the tours. That's, a lot of reasons when you see me vote against certain housing projects. Um, it's not about the project, it was about the landlord. I went in those houses. And so, we've been very aggressive, Councilmember Hussein and myself and others, um, with places like Sycamore Townhomes and Autumn Ridge, and Christian Nuwabu, that we're done playing games with them. And, I said this, um, 2 years ago, that landlords, if you're a slumlord, you're on notice. And I appreciate that the administration is backing us up now on that, because it's important. Um, we have for too long let these guys get away with whatever they want. And because they did none of the preventative maintenance that they needed to and bought these houses realistically, on the cheap, um, you know, I think now we are sending a united message that we're not playing around. Um, Sycamore Townhomes being the biggest example of that. Um, and then, it requires people also to stay on top of things. I can't tell you how many times I've been out to Sycamore Townhomes. I'm there every week checking on things, making sure they're moving forward as they're supposed to be, because that's the other part of it is follow up. Whether it's me or staff or whoever. At the end of the day, whether that's part of my role or not doesn't matter, but it is part of my role to make sure that the citizens have safe, clean, decent housing. And so when we talk about those really bad situations, you know, the administration has started to back us up and back me up on my aggressiveness about these really bad situations. And, again, this isn't about the landlords that treat their people really well, because again, we have lots of those. It's about these bad actors, um, that just, they see Lansing as their little monopoly piece. And we're not. Um, this is, some have argued that some of this stuff is expensive for landlords, and how do we help landlords? But, you know, I, I make the argument that they're in a business. I mean, they are making money off of this. Um, and the good landlords, we don't ever talk about having to fix simple things. They take care of it. But these bad guys, I mean, I went on a ride along with code compliance, and I had gone to one of the uh, better known bad landlords, um, and walked through that property. Um, the conditions were deplorable. I mean, everything was falling apart from The bathroom sink not being attached to the vanity, to a hole in the kitchen floor, to mice, I'm sorry, mice poop in the cabinets. I mean, rotted wood, just terrible conditions. No one should have to live like that just to be able to afford to get by and have shelter over their head. Um, it is unconscionable to me that we've let this slide so long. Um, but I think now everybody is getting the message that we're not going to continue to let this slide anymore. I guess that's a long way of responding to a simple question. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So you talked about this terrible property. Did that property end up being red tagged?
It was red tagged at the time because I had a sewage backup in the basement. So they were going to recheck it and look in the basement.
Okay.
Um, the idea that you kind of clean it up with a little bit of bleach and, it's a-okay, um, that's a little hard to stomach.
Okay. So is there anything
I
I
believe it's
didn't?
still red tag though.
Okay. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think is really important as it comes to sort of the housing crisis? Because we are short housing. We also have an aging housing stock. But also sort of this landlords need to be responsible, and if their property is red tagged, they're going to have to pay to move that tenant into a hotel while things get fixed, or that tenant finds a new location. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I think that is um, long overdue. I'm excited to see it come forward. We're doing the right thing. I appreciate you guys covering this. And, again, I will reiterate, if you are a slumlord, you are on notice. We're not playing around anymore.